like a Lego, yeah. Your bumper is a magnet. I stick on like a magnet, a magnet.
Yeah, it's magnetic. Join Sarojini on Caribbean Connections, Thursdays at 1. Walk through the sands with poetry from our great leaders and academics. Jive with us to soca, reggae, chutney, and calypso. Get your current cricket results, meet special guests, and more. Every Thursday, 11:30 Eastern, 1 p.m. Newfoundland time.
Baby, a magnetic, that thing just sticking on, sticking on, sticking on, sticking on me.
Chelsea, welcome to Caribbean Connections. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Hi, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. You are no stranger to Caribbean Connections. You were on last year. We had the honor and the pleasure to interview and have a beautiful chat about another topic, actually, about your dance, your erotic dance. So now, today, we're going to focus on your other business venture, which is Flavour Junction. But before we move into that, I want you to introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners, Chelsea.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Tara, and I'm the sole owner and creator behind Flavour Junction. I moved to St. John's about 5 years ago and realized this was going to be a wonderful place to explode my flavor taste on the world. So that's what I've been doing since.
Absolutely. Now, you are a woman of many facets and talents, and I know currently you're working on something else. Tell us about that.
I'm currently in commercial truck driving school full-time, which is a huge new journey for me. I'm going to be in school until February 8th. So I'm not doing a lot of Flavour Junction at the moment. I am doing the best that I can. But my hope is to break into the commercial truck driving industry, not only as a driver, but to also figure out how to get involved, hopefully on a corporate level, to do some good in the realm of nutrition and flavor.
Awesome. Oh, wow. So you are busy, very busy.
Very, very busy.
Yeah. Okay. I want to just move right in a little bit to what you've done for many years before we talk about Flavour Junction. So, what inspired you to dance and keep dancing for almost 20 years?
I'm weighing out on it being 22 years, I think, but I don't know about my memory these days.
Oh.
So I started dancing really young, as I think I mentioned in our previous interview, because I wanted to be an independent woman and look after my daughter and sort of beat that stereotype that a young girl couldn't be a good mom. And so I thought, well, I don't want to, be availing of social services unless absolutely necessary. I want to be at home with my daughter as often as possible. And I want to afford to get us into the kind of neighborhood I feel I'll have success in with my parenthood. So
Absolutely.
I went off to the strip club and I was a very brave little girl. So it wasn't nearly as scary as you all would probably think it was, surprisingly. And over the years, I just fell in love with my craft, and naturally my physique, aesthetically was always front and centered on all of that. And so my love of food and then into nutrition, as I started getting older and recognizing the need to, take care of my body and do what I could do to preserve. That's when I got really intense about the nutrition and the concepts I use behind Flavour Junction.
So that was a great story for us to move into Flavour Junction. When did you launch it, and what inspired you to launch Flavour Junction?
I was cooking very early on in my early 20s without really having been taught at home by anybody. I lived on my own very young. I really didn't have much guidance. There was no influence at home. I just was making great money. And so I had good taste because I was eating out and availing of all the wonderful food I could experience. I was traveling a lot very young. And so I was, becoming a bit of a foodie before the word foodie came out. And I realized, okay, well, I want to make this food for myself. I don't want to be eating at a restaurant every day. I need to learn how to do this. So I
Mm-hmm.
started teaching myself to cook really just through personal need. It wasn't because I wanted to cook for anyone else or I ever dreamt of having it, as my career really. I loved restaurants, but being a cook wasn't something that was front and centered in my mind. I know I wanted to be a restaurateur as a young girl, before I had any idea, the gravity of what that even consisted of, right? But I started bringing my food into work. And what would happen was the girls would aggress me in the change room, like to have bites of my food.
Mm-hmm.
And I always joked that they were like the seagulls on Finding Nemo, miming all over my food. And I
Yeah.
actually just got frustrated and said, hey, listen, I'll make you one tomorrow. Give me $20. And that's really where it started. So after I ended up coming into the club with 6 containers up, I'm holding them up over my face and I can barely see ahead of me because the managers and DJs and everybody were ordering off me.
Wow.
I started realizing, wow, okay, maybe this is a thing for me. And I hadn't been able to put my finger on what other than dancing I wanted to do with my life. And socially, I was being given a lot of pressure because of that. Socially, people were like, you're almost 25 now. What are you going to do with your life? Your daughter's getting older. You've got to make better choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really feel like I needed to. I was kind of naive to that factor at the time, but I felt the social pressure and it was getting on my nerves, much like people stealing my food. So
Yeah.
the pressure from everyone around me inspired me to pursue culinary school. And when I got through that course, I realized, wow, like these concepts for classic French cuisine that I was being trained in order to then potentially pursue a red seal. These were food concepts that were going to actually destroy the body preservation that I was working towards in order to feel good and look as good as I could at the club as I, got into my early 30s then. So I realized, well, I've got to take the reins and figure out how to create a cuisine that works for me. And so when I was in class, actually my final, I had put my hand up and I'd said, well, could I do a spin on fusion for my the region I've got to tune in on and present for? And he was like, oh, this is not a real cuisine. Fusion is a frivolous trend. And I was so intimidated by him because I was so impressionable back then still. I really let him make me feel foolish for that question. I later ended up coming in and doing oversized Jamaican patties and brought in my Rasta hat and played Bob Marley, and everybody really enjoyed it. But after I got out of school, I realized I'm going to start my own company and I'm going to call it Flavour Junction. And the reason I chose the word junction, which is so ironic all these years later now, right? It's been like 13 years. And that connection to road life, trucking, is just magnificent to me. I chose the word junction to replace the word fusion because of the sarcasm he had with me. So it's really interesting how it all ties together all these years later. Like, it blows my mind to think about it all.
Yeah. And you touched on a good thing. You talked about looking a certain way and in a way taking care of your mental health. So were these some of the driving forces behind Flavour Junction?
I will say, yeah, through the years, the trials and tribulations, life wasn't always perfect. And I went through some, major hurdles. And I recognized that my mental health was, in question here and there. And I did a lot of research. I was really curious about living a life holistically and, steering away from the typical pharmaceutical ways of dealing with things and trying to figure out, what I could learn about what was out there on the internet. And then, just using myself as with my own guinea pig, really, and just going through trials and errors and recognizing that, certain foods most certainly made me mentally feel awful, and other foods most certainly made me feel incredible. So I started really getting very excited and inspired when I recognized, I really do believe that what we ingest, whether it's drinks or food, plays an enormous role on our mental health.
Absolutely.
And so not only was it important to be, quote unquote, sexy physically, but what people don't really realize, what I've learned over the years now, is that like all the actions we take to physically look sexy also enhance the balance of our mental health and our organ health and everything else inside of our bodies with regards to, being able to live and hopefully evade disease and living the longest, best wellness that we can. The same actions are all aligned with all of those reactions. And I think that's something people really overlook.
Yeah. So as an example, like if you were to eat a food and you would feel really terrible, what would that food be, as an example? about
Well,
yourself?
now that's a good question, because this is different for everybody to some degree. And now I
Mm-hmm.
want to give a little explanation first before I say this. It's for me, the best explanation is there was a time in my life where I was drinking a fair bit of alcohol, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember that when I drank alcohol every day, or fairly frequently, I didn't get a hangover the way that I would when now I don't drink at all. And the rare time I have a tiny bit of alcohol, I'm really affected by that. So I think the same goes when you think about that with anything, again, we're ingesting, whether it's food, cigarettes, coffee, whatever. Your body
Mm-hmm.
gets used to whatever you're doing. So if you
Right.
don't do much of it, you're going to feel that, I want to call it, food hangover. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm gluten sensitive. I realized over the years, I'm not celiac, but there's also gluten sensitivity and gluten intolerance. There's 3 layers to how this wheat and gluten affect our bodies. And it's in everything. It is
Yeah.
such a hurdle to live a life without that in our diets, because everything we eat, especially when you're going out, is covered in it. It's
Yeah.
almost like a war you've got to go at to get it out of your body. So for me, that really affects my body the most. Also corn. I really don't like the way corn makes me feel.
Mm.
I'm really concerned about soy. I have a really strange reaction, digestively speaking, to peanuts and cashews, as
Uh,
opposed to all the other nuts. Like I like to use I was going to tell you about my spin on butter chicken. Now,
mm-hmm.
I think I'm correct in saying normally it's made with almonds and cashews and heavy cream.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've done a spin with full fat coconut milk instead, and I use macadamia nuts and almonds, because the macadamia nuts are just as oily as cashews are,
Wow.
but they're
Uh,
much lighter to digest. I don't feel heavy
right.
after, you know?
And we can get into that a little later when we talk about a few of your foods in particular. And on the flip side, what are a couple of foods that make you feel really good when you eat them?
Green things make me excited. Green things make me feel amazing. I want to do photo shoots with leaves all over me. I love green things. So I've always got a bag of
You're
frozen
so
avocados.
creative.
I just love green. Green is life. And it's funny because I know you're probably wondering if I smoke marijuana, which I don't, but
Hey, I'm not wondering anything. I'm just listening to you, my darling.
I get caught up socially when I joke about green life, and they go, "But you don't even smoke weed." I'm like, "It's not all about weed."
You're right, exactly. There are so many green things and
Yes.
so many various shapes and sizes and
Mhm.
shades of green, right?
And I will say ginger as well. I do not live a day of my life without drinking a raw chunk of ginger with skin on. People always find that curious as well.
So, what do you do? Do you immerse it in hot water? Is that
No,
what you do?
I drink it raw, and I really feel the medicinal qualities of it. I mean, obviously
Wow.
there's been some wear and tear on my knees over the years. I'm in 8-inch stilettos. I walk a lot. So, I'm going to be 39 this year coming up. So, I
Wow.
recognize I've got to do things to maintain myself. And I really believe that ginger is the most powerful anti-inflammatory food in the world. And so why would I want to alter it? Why wouldn't I want it in its raw state? So I always try to have an abundance of raw diet in my diet, but I don't choose to have
Yes.
my entire diet raw. Yeah.
And Chelsea, where do you buy all these precious gems we're talking about? Do you go to one place or to a variety of places?
Well, I hunt when I can. It depends on my schedule, because as we get into more here, you'll hear I've had a very, very busy year. So, when I can avail of farmers markets, for example, when I'm on the road, I'll drive an hour anywhere I need to go to get the local, organic, non-GMO that I can get. I'm always looking for microgreens and lettuces and stuff. Like I said, I love my greens. When I'm here in St. John's, I'm very familiar with the management and all the grocery stores around town, and I'm just really doing what I can here with our resources, because we don't have as wide of a variety as you do off of the island. And as you know, I transition a lot seasonally where I am, right? So that changes
Hmm.
dramatically. So I believe a really great piece of advice for people in St. John's I'd love to give is that people underestimate how wonderful your diet can be when you're using the freezer, because we can't get a lot of things here And when they do come in, they're not as fresh. And it's very difficult to figure out what is genetically modified and what isn't with regards to local farms and stuff around here. The designation's not always straightforward. So instead of hunting organic, because I question some of that, you know what I mean? I think we all do. We don't need to get into that. I just try to make sure I've got it raw and I've got it stocked. So I really do use the freezer a lot more than I think people may agree is healthy or that they bother planning. And I think from a food prep perspective, it would be very helpful for people to embrace portioning in freezer bags more than they probably are prioritizing right now.
Good. And I'm going to ask one more question before we take a quick break. And anti-inflammatory and healthy gut bacteria. We touched on that earlier before we started this lovely interview and chat. What can you tell us about that? Or those
so as I said, I've done years and years and years of research. So this is, not from an institution, but I have taken the time and it would blow people's minds the amount of time I've spent researching all this. And the one thing that came up the whole time constantly is that majority of the general public is likely to have what's called low-grade inflammation. And so if you were to go to the right doctor and say, hey, what can you tell me about this low-grade inflammation? There's a very good chance you would find out you've probably got it. And so I was really tickled mentally by this notion, and I dug into it deeper. And what I've learned is that that's really the root cause of most disease. So any kind of bodily malfunctions of any sort started way back at some other stem, a lot of times is not addressed when health issues are coming up, right? Well, low-grade inflammation, from what I can gather, is the core root of all of that. So why wouldn't I be thinking about what food causes inflammation and what food is considered anti-inflammation? I mean, this just seems like the best thing to do, right? So that was really inspiring for me. And then I also started learning about probiotics and gut health long before it became mainstream, because I've always really struggled with a difficult memory. And it's been something that really affects me emotionally in many situations during sentiments and conversations. And it really bothered me in my early 20s. It was something I was already struggling with. So I had spent many, many years researching that in itself because I was so curious. And something I came into well over 10 years ago now was that having a probiotic deficiency could be linked to memory loss. So when I discovered that, I thought, oh, wow, this makes sense. I don't like to eat yogurt. I have a bloating effect when I eat yogurt. I don't drink milk. I haven't for 15 years. So having yogurt before the wonderful now coconut milk options that are on the market that I rep, before they came out, I thought, oh, wow, like, I must not be getting probiotics. Where do they come from? So I really started digging into gut health and gut bacteria before it became, the belly dancing commercial we're all familiar with now. And learned that there's an enormous connection to mental health. So when we're eating foods that support our gut bacteria, so for people who don't understand what that means, picture your gut. Let's pretend it's a swimming pool. On half of it, there is a bunch of powerful healthy gut bacteria, and on the other half is a bunch of powerful negative destructive bacteria. There's all these different bacteria. Like, it's really fascinating on a science level, and what you eat is making one of them stronger than the other. So when you're drinking and eating things that are highly processed and yada yada, that's going to pump up the muscle of the negative destructive bacteria. So you're going to be feeling frumpy and bloated and fatigued. You're going to be grouchy. You might be screaming at your kids. Maybe your sex life has been affected. Your libido is gone and you're craving things. You're getting into substance abuse and the chaos and all this negative spiraling downward thing. I really truly believe has a lot to do with feeding this gut bacteria. Now, some people are going to think I'm crazy, but if you do the research, you'll realize that I'm not so far off. And so on the flip side, if you're feeding the healthy gut bacteria what they need to over muscle the balance of this negative bacteria, you're going to find yourself being able to go out for walks, wanting to exercise, being around really healthy people, having an energetic mind, and not feeling like age is a negative thing, and feeling revitalized and having overall wellness in your life. So that is obviously my deepest passion, and I'm just looking for outlets to share that with you.
Well, I see in the stores today, you can have, you can buy soy milk, almond milk, lactose-free milk. You can buy lactose-free yogurt as well. Would you consider those healthy gut bacteria?
I really can't comment on them because I am a whole food fanatic. So
Yeah.
my response to that would be, well, what do you need that milk for exactly? So I really truly believe that coconut milk has immense healthy bacteria and support for our body. Anything beyond coconut milk, I really don't venture into, because I don't drink coffee or tea really, so I don't really use milk for anything. All of my recipes are created, like my cream sauces and my soups and all this kind of stuff, it's all created with coconut milk. I don't venture into the other ones, because in my mind I think, well, if I need an almond milk, I'll just put almonds in my blender with water, put a bit of unpasteurized local honey, a pinch of sea salt. This is going to be 10 times more healthy than something some companies manufacturing, and I just don't trust these companies. So my energy is spent figuring out how to cut out this, processed version of the foods that we love.
Right. Chelsea, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hang tight, folks. Don't go away. We'll be back to speak to Flavour Junction's Chelsea Tara.
Run it! This one the hit, yo. Lady Sarojini.
Bless up everyone. This is Chad and Ben from Jamaica here representing for the host, Lady Sarojini with the Caribbean Connection Show. Hey, Panwa 93.5 FM CHMR 11.
Not pardon me. I'm a criminal, so get on your searching. But let me tell you though, if you never know, I'm an island man with an African culture. No drugs, no in my bag.
You are so talented, my dear.
I'm trying. All right.
You are
So
so
here we
talented.
are. Welcome back, Chelsea. Thank you again for being with us and for educating us and telling us all about Flavour Junction and what's good for us and what's not good for us. So one of the things I really want to get into in this second half is this is flu season. We're still going through a pandemic. We've been going through this for almost 9-10 months now, and everyone is talking about boosting the immune system. What can you tell us about that with some of the foods that you're cooking? And again, they all sound simple to get at the grocery store. So tell us how we can boost our immune system.
So I want to switch the language over to support our immune system rather than boost it, but that's just getting a little technical. So for one, the number one thing that comes to mind is getting a local unpasteurized honey. So what that means is that you're buying a honey locally. Not only are you supporting locally, but you're then having the pollination locally. So what does that do? That actually got rid of my allergy years ago. So I had these terrible allergies growing up. My mom had a C-section. She was a smoker. I had all the stereotypical things that cause heavy allergies and asthma in children. And years later, when I discovered a lot of these things I'm going to tell you about, I actually got rid of my allergies. So when you get a local unpasteurized honey, unpasteurized means the heat has not been raised to make it shelf stable. So when you see the honeys on the shelf in the grocery store, they've been sitting there for a very long time. They've had the heat temperature in the manufacturing process raised really high. And what is happening during that heating process is the natural antiviral and antibacterial properties that are found in an unpasteurized honey are all destroyed because of the heat temperature. So whenever you're eating a local unpasteurized honey, you're taking in all those local antibodies and none of them are being destroyed if you eat it without raising its temperature. So now if you put it in a steaming hot tea, you may be losing those properties. So what I do with it is I make my salad dressing with it. So whenever you see any kind of greens on my Flavour Junction posts of any sort, unless I'm adding to this base salad dressing, what I'm using is a non-GMO avocado oil with a local unpasteurized honey from whatever area I'm staying in at that time, a hint of lemon instead of vinegar, because lemon has an amazing amount of anti-inflammatory bacterial properties. We know we can use it to clean, right? And a pinch of pink salt, Himalayan salt. And that's an amazing salad dressing. So you start rubbing that on thick, dark, bitter greens that normally you think you'd never eat. Well, now you're tasting honey and lemon and avocado oil and pink salt. It tastes incredible. And then why not put it in my smoothie? So I was going to get into my smoothie game. I rep smoothie life.
Right.
I think smoothies are the potion to use. So every day, no matter how cold it is outside, no matter how sick of smoothies I am, no matter what I'm doing, I got to run out the door. I got a busy day. I have a smoothie for my first meal of the day. Now, it doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. Sometimes I do intermittent fasting. I wait all afternoon to eat. But the first meal I have is a smoothie. And it's a great place to additionally include the honey, because the first thing you eat and drink during the day is going to control your cravings for the rest of the day. So if you get up and have a coffee and a bagel with cream cheese, you're going to want a pizza and a beer at dinner. You know what I mean? You're setting the ground for your cravings. And why I'm so extreme the way I am, where I just don't eat and drink a lot of things, is because I'd rather not have the craving. It's the craving that makes trying to be healthy unpleasant. If you eliminate the craving, then you just start enjoying your natural path, right? So
what you're saying is how you set the tone for the beginning of the day sets it for the whole day, and this will influence having a healthy lifestyle and eating healthier. Am I right?
Absolutely. And it makes it more desirable, because who wants to be burdened by trying to be healthy? Like, that's where everyone goes wrong. So when you can figure out how to remove that feeling, then you're just living a healthy life, and it makes you happy and it feels wonderful. So, and having to have the energy late into the night, you know, I get up first thing in the morning, I go to school all day, I come home, I've got all my house chores to do, I'm selling food, I'm running around, then I'm in the club until 3 in the morning in 8-inch stilettos. Like, I need energy to feel good doing that, right? So the last thing I'm going to do is pack, you know, your standard typical comfort food that's made with vegetable oil, which is hydrogenated oil. I believe is a carcinogenic. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. And wheat and you know, the bad salts and sugars. They add sugar to everything. Things you would never think refined sugars are in. I would never pack that and eat that in the middle of my shift, because I'm going to want to curl up on the couch and give up for the night, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this will move us into some of the wonderful foods that you've had on Flavour Junction. And we just talk about the health benefits of smoothies. So I want to talk about one that really reminds me of the Caribbean, and of course, India as well, and it's spicy oxtail on basmati rice. Now, another one you have there on Flavour Junction is twist on butter chicken. Tell us about these two and how hard or easy they are to make. And can we get those ingredients here in Newfoundland?
Well, you can definitely get oxtail if you put the muscle to the pressure. So when I first came to town and I said to myself, can I make a life here? One of the first things I did was went straight to Sobeys, to the meat department, and said, okay, can we get oxtail? Do you guys know what it is? How do we get it? And they, you know, they weren't very forthcoming about it at first. It was like, oh no, we don't have that here. And I was like, well, like, I can't move to this island if I can't get me some oxtail. Because as you know, I love Caribbean food. And as I was telling you earlier, I have a lot of sensitivities to legumes in particular. So chickpeas, for example, my very favorite food in all the world, is a double. I can't digest it. I cannot eat it at all. It's very sad for me. So the only way to get past that and to be excited is to get me some oxtail. Like, I love to eat oxtail. I love to eat it with my fingers. I'm very loud about it. I love oxtail. So eventually I was able to get oxtail here, and it's been trials and tribulations over the years, because they wanted to sell it just with all the orvals, I think you pronounce it, in the box, and so back and forth and around again. I put a lot of pressure on the stores to get it here. So you can get it, but you've got to be very vocal. Make sure you get to the right person in the right department, you know, and just show them how passionate you are, because they get excited when they realize that you are.
And the butter chicken, I mean, I'm impressed. Let me read a couple here. I mean, we don't have to talk about all, but on your site, I'm looking at curry mousse stew, chips, what to eat, the healthy ones. I'm looking at Cajun lamb sauteed with pecans and maple syrup and roasted sweet potatoes, northern fried chicken and waffles, pork enchiladas, barbecue eggplant tacos, gold rush chowder, the breakfast sundae, rainforest salad, the Roman smoothies. Guys, this is just a fraction of what you can find at Flavour Junction. But Chelsea, you pick one and talk to us about it. Pick a dish that's your favorite.
Oh, that's so much pressure. Okay, I'm going to talk about two because I can't.
Okay, okay,
So
sure.
the chicken and waffles was just this long inspiration. I was down in LA when I was like 22, and I went to this breakfast place, and it had chicken and waffles, and they were telling me all about how Snoop Dogg goes there to eat these chicken and waffles. So of course I was all razzle dazzled, and I never forgot about that. I thought, I want to make healthy chicken and waffles. How do I do this? And would you believe, all these years later, I've only just recently finally remembered to crack the code on this. So I'm making my waffles with almond flour, and I'm dusting my boneless, skinless chicken thighs with almond flour. And I'm using the raw Mother Earth sweetened with prunes barbecue sauce. So it hasn't been cooked. It's got all those natural digestive enzymes in it. I'm doing a healthy maple syrup, making sure that it's a good grade, you know, and I'm mixing that all together. I top it with green onions. It's amazing. I want to jump quickly onto the barbecued eggplant tacos, because one of the few ingredients I use that I'm not making from scratch are these phenomenal coconut flour tortilla wraps that have only hit the market about 6 months ago. I have so many bags in the deep freezer here, it would make you giggle, because you can use them to make mini pizzas, you can make them little tacos out of them, and the ingredients are really good. And like you were saying or asking me about earlier, you know, some of these wellness products, wellness things we think we should be buying, like, they're not actually always good for us. And it's really crucial to read the ingredients rather than the nutrition chart, and really understand what those ingredients are. And even so much as so that the first few items on the list of ingredients represent the ingredients that are more abundant in this particular recipe. So a lot of people don't know these things, right? So when it comes to getting gluten-free wraps, most of the time it's not being made with ingredients that I would consider healthy gut bacteria, anti-inflammatory.
So where can I get gluten-free wraps? Like, I know there's a lot of people who are intolerant to gluten. So
yeah, so you're not
looking
for something titled gluten-free wraps. That's when you're going to be had by these companies that are making things that don't have gluten in them, but they're being made by ingredients that are still inflammatory and still awful for weight management and everything else. I've told you, it's all connected, right? So this particular coconut wrap is available at Sobeys here in St. John's, and it's in the wellness section in the freezer.
Wow. Okay.
So you want to say to them, you know, like, can you help me find them? Don't feel like you can't find them. You've got to find it in the freezer, because that's where they're storing them, because of course they don't have a lot of additives in them, so they can't stay fresh for a long time. So that's why the freezer, again, is a really smart idea, because when you're preserving quality food, you need to, or it will go bad fast. And people say, oh, I can't afford it, it all goes bad before I have time to eat it. And these are the, you know, the experiences I'm being told over the years by people who are struggling to figure out how to get healthy, right?
Exactly. Chelsea, I know you've got a busy schedule and you've got a lot of things going on, but say for someone, the general public, they want to start out eating healthy, buying affordable ingredients with a friendly budget. What can you tell us to do, and how should we start?
Well, as I said, get some large freezer bags and start figuring out what you can freeze with regards to when you cook it. You know, so for example, I freeze all my fruit, and, you know, I use a lot of fruit even in my savory dishes. I experiment and I play with color and flavor for fun, because it's exciting to create things that have never been created. So don't obsess over recipes. Don't avoid foods because you know they'll perish. Put them in the freezer and be willing to experiment. But the huge take home I would love everybody to take from this is to get off of canola oil. Canola oil rules Newfoundland and a lot of other places, unfortunately. It is reminiscent to vegetable oil. We all grew up with the big jugs. It's affordable, and it's really, really affecting our wellness, like on a deep-rooted level. And you guys can do the research for yourselves, right? So what you want to do is switch to a coconut oil or an avocado oil. Also stock up on seeds. Seeds have an amazing abundance of nutrients. I truly believe people can rebalance their hormones, both men and women, and do an amazing job of figuring out what to do, like for later in life through postmenopause. You know, if people are having, you know, low libido, or, you know, all of the negative things that come with an imbalance of our hormones. People don't recognize that depression is simply your mind being malnourished of the vitamins that it needs. Like that's where depression comes from. So when your hormones through seeds, Google seed cycling or seed rotating if you're interested in this conversation to do your own research on it, and you'll realize that keeping these dry seeds is very effortless. It's dry storage. It's simple stuff.
So
and you put them into your meals.
what are some of the dry seeds you can get? Tell us 2 or 3 that we should keep.
I'm going to give you like 7 because this is like my staple. This is my life. This is every day you got to have it. So hemp hearts, chia seeds, flax meal, which is ground flax seed available as flax meal, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and I think that's it. Yes. So when you buy these seeds, make sure that they're raw. Don't buy them roasted and salted. Buy them in a huge bulk. Don't complain about how much they cost, because when you think about the small amounts you need in each meal, you'll recognize that this is actually a huge cost saver. So no, I'm not telling you to never have your meat and potatoes again, because I love meat and potatoes. But this is a really great deep source of nutrients that people are underestimating compared to a chicken dinner when you feel you need to have your protein in order to keep yourself well. Because we've been fooled by a lot of these industries, right?
Yes. And we can get all of these at your regular grocery store, correct?
Yeah, you want to check out the wellness sections as well as the seed and nut sections. Sometimes they have them spread out like quite disorganizedly. So you really want to go and grab the store manager and say like, hey, I'm on a mission. I need your help. Help me do this. I also do have a subscription page. I hope you don't mind me promoting it here, on patreon.com for Flavour Junction. And it's only $10 a month. I made it as affordable as I humanly could. And just at home, intimate videos of me simply cooking and explaining all of these concepts and how I make all of the dishes that I put on there. And it's not naughty.
Oh, absolutely.
No hanky-panky.
Oh, Chelsea, this is so wonderful, especially with the holidays coming up. Everyone's going to be overeating. Even though we will not have large gatherings, we're still going to probably be doing the same things we do every year, the turkey, the roast, the potatoes, and all of that. And at the end of it, all you're going to hear is, boy, did I ever overeat, right?
No, well, I want to throw this in there. People always say to me like, oh, Chelsea, Christmas is coming up. I'm going to be a bad girl. I'm going to have turkey and potatoes. And I'm like, I'm not against turkey and potatoes. You'd be blown away at how many people think I'm vegan in town. There are wonderful ways to hack traditional behaviors while still having all of the things that you love. And it's that idea that you can't that keeps people.
Oh, I think we got frozen here for a moment. Hang on. Hello.
Hi, is that working?
Yeah, it's working now. We were frozen. Go on.
Right.
Thank you.
What was I saying? So for example, I make gravy. I love gravy. Gravy is a big part of my life. But instead of using wheat flour to thicken it, I use flax meal, which is an amazing source of fiber. So there really is a way to hack traditional behaviors and still enjoy everything in this comfort, filling way. And, if you overeat a meal or two, it's really not the end of the world if the food that you're eating isn't inflammatory and negative for gut health. I overeat quite a bit.
Well, I mean, I've seen you around, Chelsea, and you're in amazing shape. You exercise, you eat well, and you're certainly a really great example for all of us. We could still enjoy the foods we like, but like you said, hack it with some healthy options, right?
Yes, exactly.
And just to go back to the seeds, you talk about using them. Are we putting it into our salads, our foods that we're cooking in the evening, in breakfast? What are we doing with the seeds?
I put them in my smoothies every morning because I want to know I've gotten them into my body, right? Like it's a priority for me. But I additionally love to do things like putting almond in a creamy soup. Almonds taste so wonderful when they soak up soup and they become soft, so it's really just about experimenting and saying like, okay, I'm going to make a dish tonight without chicken or beef or what have you. And how can I make sure I've got the protein everybody's so scared about it? I believe people are far too frightened about not having enough protein than is logical, but let's just say I believe them. We're all stressed about protein. You can get an amazing amount of protein from pumpkin seeds, for example. So It's not about becoming vegan, getting away from meat entirely. It's just about being experimental and feeling free and wild with the ingredients. So I don't go to the store to buy specific ingredients for specific recipes. I go to the store to buy what's affordable out of the whole foods that I know I love to play with. I bring them home and I just play, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Chelsea, we've been in this pandemic for like 9 months, and I know we all started doing a lot of things at the beginning. What did you do at the beginning of the pandemic with your food and your work and everything else? What did you do?
Well, the number one thing I did was I left procrastination station on the subject of fermenting, because fermenting is the number one thing that we can do to populate our healthy gut bacteria. So when the Industrial Revolution took over, right, people stopped fermenting food as a means of preserving it, right? So we lost all of that healthy gut bacteria from making fermented foods a part of our diet. So now that our soils are depleted, and you know, our food is not as healthy as it used to be, fermented food is really something that we should all be doing. This is the number one thing for people to learn about who want to figure out mental health, for example. So when the pandemic started, I thought, oh my God, I need to make my immunity as strong as possible, and I need to prepare for the mental health crisis that I may be facing through this year. It's going to be a tough year. So the first thing I said was, like, I've got to do this fermenting thing. I've been putting it off for far too long. So I did a couple videos about that on a Facebook Live to share with people, because I thought, well, I don't want to keep it private for only my subscribers. I want to show everybody, you know. It's a growing process. You can easily jump onto YouTube and type in fermenting for beginners and make this something that the family does together and teaches children generation after generation, because that's getting back to the basics that we've lost. And it really is the most substantial move for gut bacteria. I not only prioritized those videos, as I said, for my Flavour Junction Patreon and learning how to do the fermented foods, but I also jumped on the OnlyFans train. I'm not sure if you've heard much about that.
No, tell me about it.
OnlyFans.com is a website that provides women in my industry a space to sell content directly to the consumer. So you have the same type of feed as Facebook has. For example, you know, you post quotes or written text, photos or videos, but people subscribe to it as a paid channel the same way they would for Netflix, for example. So when you have your own fan base, like which I have through all these years of entertainment, then I'm able to say to my customers who are missing me and wondering how I'm doing, hey, here's my page. Go ahead and subscribe. So when I sat down and said to myself, I'm very nervous about doing this online content, as I told you about before, how do I find a niche? You know, every woman in this industry is doing this right now. Like, I need a niche. What is my niche? And my girlfriends were like, food, dummy. Hello. And I was like, what should I do with food? Should I have sex with food? So some of my content is me just being myself at home. Some of it is my adventures. Some of it is me at the club. Now that the clubs have reopened, I've done a lot of awesome behind the scenes footage. And some of it is me exploring my erotic desire for food play, because that was actually something I didn't pursue throughout my 20s because I didn't have supportive partners. And I credit being older in my 30s now to finally being a space in my life where I'm being very guarded with regards to who I form relationships with and bonds with. And I don't feel that anybody's standing in my way from being my wild, free-spirited self. So I'm exploring all of that on OnlyFans. My page is called Holistic Stripper Chef. And sometimes I'm cooking and then I'm playing with my food. Like, I'm doing a lot of different things. And it's been such an amazing journey emotionally for me. I'm so shocked at how nourishing it's been for me. So I also did that. I also co-wrote a ebook called a poetry ebook called The Strip Club Experience with my dear friend Vincent, who I spent majority of the winter down in Florida with while I was doing 5K walks a day. You know, keep your immune system strong, keeping my bare feet in the dirt every day, because that's how we absorb healthy gut bacteria, and focusing on how to have the best immunity health while doing the naughtiest videos possible.
Yes. Good for you, girl. I couldn't have said it any better. You know, Chelsea, it's just been, again, a thrill and a joy to have you on Caribbean Connections. I want to thank you for your time and just telling us all about food and all the fun we can have with it, and not feeling guilty that, all we're doing is eating healthy, boring food. So if someone wants, you know, like, people think, oh no, I can't do that. That's too boring for me. But you know what? If someone wants to connect with you on one of your food sites. What information can you give to us so they can get you on that site?
So the best place to discover, how to peel away the layers of confusion is really what it is, right? Is patreon.com/Flavour Junction. And I've spelled flavor OUR, the Canadian spelling.
Awesome. You want to repeat that in case someone's...
So patreon.com/Flavour Junction, and it's a $10 subscription, and I go through my concepts and hacks of everything while I'm at home in my intimate space cooking and just showing you how I do things. It's very laid back, and it's just a way for people to help provide me with the value of these years that I've spent configuring all of this, right?
Right.
So it's a wonderful platform for me for sure.
That's fantastic. Now, if before they actually pay for the site to get onto it, is there like a Facebook page they can go to see what you have on there, some of the
Absolutely.
foods?
Yeah, I have a Flavour Junction Facebook page as well as an Instagram Flavour Junction page, and you're able to scroll through the years of my creations, and there's a gallery there of everything. So people always say, "Oh, what's your menu?" And I say, "Well, I make customized, personalized meals," right? So you can look through that gallery and explore all those ingredients, and then also, configure them if you'd like me to be preparing it for you at some point as well, right?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I also wanted to tell you about the sequel to Rock, Paper, Sex. Can I do that?
Yes, I know you were in Carrie Coles, a Newfoundland author,
Yes.
her first volume, Rock, Paper, Sex, and now there's a sequel. So for sure, tell us about Carrie Coles' second book.
I'm just so excited about it, and I thought, oh my goodness, if I forget, I'm going to be so mad at myself after.
No.
So it was a really wonderful experience to be asked to be a part of the second one. And it was really wonderful because, as I was talking to you about before, I really, really was able to transform out of this shameful, regressed feeling that I used to have about my lifelong journey dancing, until her first book came out and I was able to tell my daughter the truth. So my daughter never knew that I was dancing. I hid it from her. So that double life was a big burden for me. So when she was 19, I flew her in and I read her the book and I told her everything. And I was so moved by her support. I could not believe just the validation that I gained from the experience in the first book, and then the support that my daughter gave me. It was like my heart grew 5 sizes, like the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Like it was totally. Right. I didn't even know that I needed to have that growth. It was unbelievable for me. So when she asked me to be in the second, and then also asked me if my daughter would like to participate, I was like, oh my God, I'm so moved by this. So that was a really incredible experience. So she's just got a simple, short little quote on her perception of the industry and my experience or whatever. But it was such an incredible bonding experience. I cannot wait for this book to get out. And there's some other wonderful people in it too, and I can't wait to hear their journeys as well.
Chelsea, that's a good place to end this beautiful chat. And I want to thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge on living a healthier life, not only for the rest of this pandemic, we don't know how long, but for the rest of our lives, and to make proper informed choices. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, my darling. And I wish you all the best with your future work and business venture with Flavour Junction and everything else. And we will be in touch. Thank you very much again, Chelsea, and for the opportunity. All right?
All right, and I'll get you some oxtail soon.
Oh, listen, I am dying to try that. So we will definitely have to be in touch with that oxtail on spicy oxtail on basmati rice, right?
Yes. All right. Take care. Thank you so much.
Chelsea. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
And Ras Daniel and I have been Suffering made me realize what it takes, and the how to be an attitude like. Oh yeah, guess who's coming to dinner? Natty Dreadlock. Yeah. Guess who's coming to dinner? Natty Dreadlock. Guess who's coming to dinner? Natty Dreadlock. So let's give thanks and praise Natty Dreadlock for the height of feet. Oh, Natty Dreadlock. Now that things and time have changed, suffering made me realize what it takes, and the how to be an happy dreadlock. Oh, guess who's coming to dinner? Natty Dreadlock. Guess who's coming to dinner?
Hey folks, welcome back. You just heard a beautiful chat between myself and the lovely, ever so talented Chelsea Tara at Flavour Junction. I hope you enjoyed all the tips that Chelsea gave us on eating healthy and living a healthier lifestyle, especially during the holiday season.
It's that time again. The biggest party in sport is back. The defending champions is back. TK, are you ready? East, west, we the champions. North, south, we the champions. All road, we the champions. So we tell them this. We say east, west, we the champions. North, south, we the champions. All road, we the champions. So we tell them this. Hey, you know that we love me, love. politics and now set them a get licked. So we tell them, you know that we run the roads, represent the country when we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them out. We stop them out one by one. The other teams can't touch me cause we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them. Tell them it's the wicked, 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 wicked. Student alright, tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. Super Kumpa, tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. Even Mella, tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. All I take it as a east, west, we's the champions. North, south, we's the champions. All north, we's the champions. So we tell them this, we say east, west, we's the champions. North, south, we's the champions. All north, we's the champions. So we tell them this, you know that we run the roads, represent the country when we bowl them out. That's when we bowl them out. We stop them out one by one. The other teams can't touch me cause we bowl them out. That's when we bowl them. Darren Bravo, Colin Monroe, Dina Shamden, and Kreslin. Darren Bravo, Colin Monroe, Dina Shamden, and Kreslin. TKR, this is for you.
You like a Lego, yeah. Your bumper is a magnet. I stick on like a magnet. A magnet.
Yeah, it's magnetic. Join Sarojini on Caribbean Connections, Thursdays at 1. Walk through the sands with poetry from our great leaders and academics. Jive with us to soca, reggae, chutney, and calypso. Get your current cricket results, meet special guests, and more. Every Thursday, 11:30 Eastern, 1 p.m. Newfoundland time.
Be a magnetic, that thing just sticking on, sticking on, sticking on, sticking on me.
Run it. This one the hit, yo. Lady Sarojini.
Bless up everyone. This is Chard and Ben from Jamaica here representing for the host, Lady Sarojini with the Caribbean Connection Show. Hey, Panwa 93.5 FM CHMR 11.
That's a pardon me. I'm a criminal, so get on your searching. But let me tell you though, if you never know, I'm an island man with an African culture. No drugs, no in my bag.
Behind a man's success, most do not see the strong woman standing next to him. Everybody want to be single and free, but what will happen when they get real lonely?
مساء الخير وأهلا بكم. إن شاء الله تكونوا بخير اليوم. أنتم تستمعون لسروجيني على برنامج Caribbean Connections chmr.ca 93.5 93.5 FM. السلام عليكم.
Hey, welcome to this awesome Thursday here on Caribbean Connections. I want to thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to be here with us. A very special thank you to those listening from around the island of Newfoundland and Labrador in Toronto, Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary, Maple Ridge and Roberts Creek, and all of you along the Sunshine Coast. Welcome, and moving across the border, New York, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., and crossing over to the Atlantic, Vandemunde and Berlin, Germany, in the UK, in New Delhi, India, and of course, big up in the Bahamas and Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana. What's up, y'all? And all over the Caribbean. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. It's so great to have you here. We're going to kick off this great day with Master KG and Jerusalema.
Jerusalema, ikayalami ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zunga Sungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami Sungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami ilondoloze ilondoloze Sungangishilana ilondoloze 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 Sungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami Sungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami Sungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami
Jerusalema, Master KG featuring Nomchibo, kicking off today's program here on Caribbean Connections.
Mommy, you cry. Papi, you cry. Mommy, you cry. Daddy, you ball. Mommy, you cry. Daddy, you ball. Mommy, you cry. Mommy, you cry. Daddy, you ball. Can't get no food, my mouth full of white squall. Mommy, you cry. Daddy, you ball. Can't get no food at all. Mommy, you cry. Daddy, you ball. Can't get no food, my mouth full of white squall. Mommy, you cry. Daddy, you ball. Can't get no food at all. Mama said she finally could job for me. Worky, worky, in a one factory. Check a boss man, him say, why I am me. Say me look fit strong and me healthy. With spot me working on the laundry. They want me work from 7 to 3:30. Work from 11 to 7:30. When payday come, a low salary. Can't pay me rent, neither buy me grocery. Never see one rasta dead be hungry. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food, me mouth full of white squall. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food at all. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food, me mouth full of white squall. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food at all. Sister woulda like to wear a finger ring. Me say on her feet a 2 pair of stocking. Sure, inna she ear a man a couple earpin. She don't have money fi buy anything. Gone downtown every day go juggling. Just we get to feed it for a baby we crying. Yes, every day man a pay suffering. No cause for the hate of the real war bring. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food, me mouth full of white squall. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food at all. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food, me mouth full of white squall. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food at all. Mama said she finally could jump for me. Worky, worky, in a one factory. Check a boss man, him say one hire me. Say me look fit strong and me healthy. We spot me working at the laundry. They want me work from 7 to 3:30. Work from 11 to 7:30. When payday come, a low salary. After pay me rent and can't buy grocery. Never see one rasta dead for hungry. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food, me mouth full of white squall. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food at all. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food, me mouth full of white squall. Mommy you cry, daddy you ball. Can't get no food.
It's a dancehall thing.
She's a dancehall queen for life, gonna explode like dynamite, and she's moving out of sight to check out my shop, the place like dynamite. She's a dancehall queen for life, gonna explode like dynamite, and she's moving out of sight to check out my shop, the place like dynamite.
You know you so full of it, but you so clever. You still a selector, you design to be the dancer. If for me alone, I would have turned you in a me lover. Girl, you want me near me, want to knock you with me hammer. Then make me get back and shock ya, mass ya. First time me see you, me da walk in a maca. No me see you when me want to burn up in a fire. All up in a phones like a thinking filler with a girl ya wine, she look like mama killer. One touch me, it burn me like pepper. But you the DJ, you turn me a la. She'll no walk forever, you a la.
She is the dancehall queen for life, gonna explode like dynamite, and she's moving out of sight to check out my shop, the place like dynamite. She's a dancehall queen for life, gonna explode like dynamite, and she's moving out of sight to check out my shop, the place like dynamite.
Contest a go on for the dancehall queen, who already crowned on the one all of fame. Hell about the house when Miss Lady come in, then everybody start screaming, sing. Where the girl come from, nobody don't know. She's a devil angel and she's a go-go. Is this girl human and she's a yo-yo? Ask me, I don't know, but all me know. When Nicky chop down African star, me see bus, me see truck, me see bike, me see car. Night time come and video light it turn on. How about they start to alarm, can't
Watch me
keep
now,
calm.
she can conk any session with a cute face and create enough heat in the place. And try not touch a button. If you touch a button, she go try and do you something. And go girl, for me not stop say so. Go girl, to the rhythm where I show. Go girl, to the bass where I go. Go girl. She can conk any session with a cute face and create enough heat in the place. And try not touch a button. If you touch a button, she go try and do you something. You just go girl.
Walk and live. Talk and bumbuckler dead.
All right, getting you into the party mood for this coming weekend. That was Dancehall Queen by Billy Man and Chevelle Franklin. And of course, kicking off today's program at the beginning, we heard Jerusalem by Master KG featuring Non Sebo and of course Jack Cutter, Canadian from Montreal, and Cry. Well, I should say Jamaican Canadian from Montreal, and that was Cry. And one of my favorites by Estelle and Taurus Riley, Love Like Ours. Hang tight, guys. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Don't go away.
Every second, someone flees their home due to natural disasters. The Arctic ice that regulates our planet's weather is vanishing. That means floods, famine, and more are on the rise. But there's a simple solution, and you have the right to know. My name is Parvati. Please join me in creating a healthy future with MAPS, the Marine Arctic Peace Sanctuary. Get involved at parvati.org, parvati.org. It literally means the world.
The future of animals everywhere is at risk. In the last 40 years, over half of the world's animal populations have disappeared. Biodiversity is in crisis, and we need to do something now to reverse this alarming trend. Earth Rangers knows that no one cares more about animals than our children, and by providing them with the tools and the inspiration to take action, kids can make a real difference to the survival of wildlife. Already, thousands of children across Canada are joining forces as Earth Rangers to help protect animals and their habitats. To get your child involved or to make a donation, please visit earthrangers.com.
Looking for Canadian-specific women's health information? The Centres of Excellence for Women's Health bring you innovative research on women's health from a distinctly Canadian perspective. Our qualitative studies take into account the biological factors as well as the economic and social factors affecting women's health in Canada. We also support citizen engagement in health research and policy development. New publications focus on the status of Aboriginal women's health, rural and remote women's health, midwifery, HIV and AIDS, girls and smoking, breast implants, and much, much more. Visit our website at www.centers.ca or call us toll-free at 1-888-818-9172 for more details. The Centers of Excellence for Women's Health, bringing community and research partners together to improve women's health.
The Centers of Excellence for Women's Health program is funded by the Women's Health Bureau, Health Canada.
Listen to Global Frequencies, a new program celebrating diversity in Newfoundland and Labrador, covering topics pertinent to the diversification of the province, multiculturalism, immigrant businesses, anti-racism, integration, economic growth, and more. Every second Wednesday, 7 p.m. on CHMR 93.5 FM and on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. This program is presented by the Association for New Canadians and CHMR 93.5 FM with funding from Community Radio Fund of Canada, Atlantic Canada's Opportunities Agency, and the Office of Immigration and Multiculturalism. Global Frequencies. Diverse province, diverse voices.
Stay with us, guys. We're going to be right back.
Listen to Global Frequencies, a new program celebrating diversity in Newfoundland and Labrador, covering topics pertinent to the diversification of the province, multiculturalism, immigrant businesses, anti-racism, integration, economic growth, and more. Every second Wednesday, 7 p.m. on CHMR 93.5 FM and on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. This program is presented by the Association for New Canadians and CHMR 93.5 FM with funding from Community Radio Fund of Canada, Atlantic Canada's Opportunities Agency, and the Office of Immigration and Multiculturalism. Global Frequencies. Diverse province, diverse voices.
Hi, it's Craig Mills, host of Eastern Passage. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. for the finest in East Coast contemporary folk, right here on 93.5 CHMR FM and online at chmr.ca.
Hey there, Take a listen at this. All this. All this too. My name is Ugwede Ikechukwu. Join me every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. where we do everything Africa. From the music to the current news to the history, from the Horn of Africa up to the north to the west and down to the south. And again, back here to St. John's. That's every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. right here on the One African Show.
Friday morning markout. 8 a.m. Newfoundland time or 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on CHMR 93.5 FM.
The closest ones, meanwhile.
You're not quite what I expected. I beg your pardon if I seem dejected. From a colony once neglected. Outside child coming home. America had the muscle but you had the mind. They had the bustle but you had the design. Which one wills together like rope from twine. I thought as I walked up the serpentine in you, London town. It was the middle of March and I was walking out. London town. Didn't know a soul so I walked all around. London town. Feeling like a ship which had run aground in you, London town. We once wanted to be like you. Bowler hat, gabardine suit, now we ape an empire closer to home. Mimic men to the end, you bred it in our bones. We would imagine you in the metropole. We the fragment, you were the whole. We were the flesh, you were the mind and soul. At least that's how we heard the story told by you, London town. It was the middle of March and I was walking out. London town. Didn't know a soul so I walked all around. London town. Feeling like a ship which had run aground in you, London town. London, your sun is set, but the night has not quite fallen yet. All the stars caught in your galaxy, they flicker like lamps in your city, in you, London town. Walking the streets, history crashing all around, London town. Oh, bells ringing, I can hear the sound through you, London town. You're not quite what I expected. I beg your pardon if I seem dejected. From a colony once neglected. Outside child coming home. Long time London since your flag came down. Long time since we moved along. But now I see just how entwined we were left by the years that we left behind with you, London town. It was the middle of March and I was walking out. London town. Didn't know a soul so I walked all around. London town. Feeling like a ship which had run aground in you, London town.
Cobo Town, and that was London Town. Our boys from Toronto, and there's about 7 members of the band and a group I've had the awesome pleasure to interview a couple of years ago when they came to our fair city right here in St. John's, Newfoundland for the Tombolo Multicultural Festival. And that track was called London Town, Juno Award winning group Cobo Town.
When we dancing,
live from Toronto. This is DJ Eruption. You're listening to Sarojini from Caribbean Connections. Peace out.
Then you hold my bumper and grind.
Are you ready?
Cricket Report, December 3rd, 2020. After an extended quarantine period following their arrival in New Zealand, West Indies had a chance to get some match practice in with a warm-up contest against the New Zealand A-team. Training exercises were curtailed a few days earlier than expected after an isolation bubble breach and the lack of practice showed as the Windies bowlers took some time to get into their stride. Opener Rachin Ravindra made the most of it to score a century as New Zealand declared at 308 for 3. When the West Indies went into bat, the top order were quick to get going and Darren Bravo led the way with 135 runs while Shamaro Brooks made 80. Craig Brathwaite and Boston Chase also reached the 40s to take West Indies to 366 all out. The bowlers found it easier to get into their groove the second time around when both Kamar Roach and Shannon Gabriel had especially good spells. The test team will have a chance at a second 4-day practice match while the T20 squad commence their series next week.
It's that time again. The biggest party in sport is back. The defending champions is back. TK, are you ready? East, west, we're the champions. North, south, we're the champions. All, both, we're the champions. So we tell them this. We say east, west, we're the champions. North, south, we're the champions. All, both, we're the champions. So we tell them this. Hey, you know that we run me round. Represent the country when we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them out. Hey, we stop them out one by one. The other teams can't touch me cause we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them. So we them for 6. Yes, right them for 6. No set them I get licked. So we them for 6. Yes, right them for 6. No set them I get licked. So we them for 6. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Tell them we ain't them for 6 and no set them I get licked. So we tell them, you know that we run me round. Represent the country when we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them out. Hey, we stop them out one by one. The other teams can't touch me cause we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them. Tell them it's the wicked, 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 wicked. Student alright, tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. Super Cooper, tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. Even Miller, tell them it's wicked, 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 wicked. All I TK are so it east, west, we're the champions. North, south, we're the champions. All, both, we're the champions. So we tell them this, we say east, west, we're the champions. North, south, we're the champions. All, both, we're the champions. So we tell them this, hey, you know that we run the round. Represent the country when we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them out. Hey, we stop them out one by one. The other teams can't touch me cause we bowl them out. That's how we bowl them. Darren Bravo, Colin Monroe, Dina Shamden, and Kreslin. Darren Bravo, Colin Monroe, Dina Shamden, and Kreslin. TKR, this is for you.
Hi, this is Vinod from New York City, and you're listening to Sarojini on the Caribbean Connections.
Welcome back. I want to thank you all for staying with me throughout the program. We are coming to the end soon, but not quite. We just have room for maybe a couple more tracks. But please take care, stay well, follow the health officials still, wear your mask, wash your hands, and physical distance. And just before we went to break, you heard DJ Bravo, ex-cricketer, and that was Bowl Them Out. So let's give it up now for Cynthia Schloss, Am I That Easy to Forget?
You say you found somebody new, but that won't stop my loving you. I just can't let you walk away. Forget the love I had for you. Guess I could find somebody new, but I don't want no one but you. How could you leave without regret? Am I that easy to forget? Before you leave, be sure you find you want her love much more than mine. For I'll just say we never met. I'm not that easy to forget. Before you leave, be sure you find you want her love much more than mine. 'Cause I'll just say we've never met. Am I that easy to forget? You say you found somebody new, but that won't stop my loving you. How could you leave without regret? I'm not that easy to forget. You say you found somebody new, but that won't stop my loving you. How could you leave without regret? I'm not that easy to forget. Am I that easy to forget? Am I that easy to forget? I'm not that easy to forget.
Am I That Easy to Forget by Cynthia Slush. Well, I want to thank you all for tapping into today's program. I certainly hope that you've enjoyed the entire program. Please join me again here next week, same time, same place, 1 p.m. Newfoundland time, 11:30 Eastern. Stay well and healthy, take care of yourselves and of each other, and please wear your mask and do all the right things to keep yourself safe, healthy, and your loved ones.
Oh,
Some a cow well fat, a crap out tongue and a living bat. Mud from the graveyard, one black stone. Stir it up with a dead man bone. If things go fine, every woman going to be mine. In the very still of night, when folks are asleep, and the devil's angels fight, making spirits weep, I'll be in the cemetery with horns on my head, a silver cross and two big bony, invoking the dead. Roger, come here, Roger, Roger unubadanga. Ine unga wa ine abracadabra. The fire blazing and the water hot. Oh Lord, it is time to put something in the pot. A little bit of mud, an eagle's claw, donkey blood and a rabbit's paw. One black hen piece of golden thread, a greener hair from Napoleon head. If nothing go wrong, cost a living bound to calm down. Now I want to tell the public, the lame and the sick, if you want some OBR, come to Papa Boy quick. If somebody thief your chicken or you lose your man, come quick, I am quite willing to give you a hand. Roger, come here, Roger, Roger unubadanga. Ine unga wa ine abracadabra. The fire blazing and the water hot. Oh Lord, it is time to put something in the pot.
You're such a lucky guy to have a girl like her. It's truly a dream come true. Out of all the fellas in the world, she belongs to me. But it was just my imagination running away with me. It was just my imagination running away with me. Ooh, soon we'll be married and raise a family. Oh yeah, a cozy little home out in the country with 2 children, maybe 3. I tell you, I can build you a life on. This couldn't be a dream, for to me you're no sleep. But it was just my imagination once again and again running away with me. It was just my imagination running away with me. Every night on my knees I pray, Lord, dear Lord, hear my plea. Don't ever let another take her love from me, or I will surely die. Her love is heavenly. When her arms enfold me, I hear a tender rhapsody. But in reality, she doesn't even know me. Just my imagination once again and again running away with me. It was just my imagination running away with me. Just my imagination once again.